So I think most of us, we feel like we know the letter from Birmingham Jail. We all read it in school.
Right, it's a classic.
But the source material we're diving into today, it suggests that maybe we've been reading it wrong. Or at least a bit too softly.
Absolutely. We have this very sentimental view of Dr. King. We see the dream, but we tend to miss the general.
A general. I like that.
And this source argues that Birmingham, it wasn't just a protest, it was, a masterclass in psychological warfare.
And the author really reframes King's nonviolence, not as passivity, but as something called tactical non-pacifism.
Yes, and it all hinges on a concept the text calls FBA soft power.
So let's break that down. FBA stands for Foundational Black American.
Right. And the source is very specific. It defines this as a lineage-based identity, so the descendants of those who were enslaved in the U.S.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, the source isn't using this as just a demographic label. It's making a political claim.
It is. The argument is that because this group literally built the country's economic foundation with unpaid labor, they hold a superior moral authority.
It completely changes the negotiation, doesn't it?
It does. King wasn't asking for rights like a guest in someone else's house. He was, as the source puts it, reminding them that his people were the architects of that house.
He even says in the letter, before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, we were here.
Exactly. That's the soft power part, establishing that deep, unbroken connection. But then you get to Project C.
And there's nothing soft about that.
Not at all. C stood for confrontation. This is the core of the whole strategy. He wasn't trying to avoid a crisis. He was trying to manufacture one.
A crisis so bad that the city just couldn't afford segregation anymore.
That's the goal.
They called it constructive tension. It's such a fascinating phrase, because you always think of tension as a bad thing.
But here it was the Enger, and they engineered it so precisely. The source points to the timing of the boycott right during the Easter shopping season.
The main economic lever.
They organized the FBA community to just stop spending. And it worked. Downtown business revenue dropped by something like 40%.
They made segregation unprofitable.
But when that happened, the violence escalated. And this is where the strategy gets really difficult to process. The Children's Crusade. When they ran out of adults who were willing to go to jail, they put children on the front lines. High schoolers, even younger.
But tactically, the source argues this was a calculated move. It was designed to completely shatter the myth of so-called Southern gentility.
It was. You pit the innocence of a child against the hard power of police dogs and fire hoses. It forces the whole world to see the brutality that was usually hidden.
It just rips the mask off.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the legal side of this, because, they were breaking the law.
Oh, King addresses that head on in the letter. He draws this line in the sand between just laws and unjust laws.
A just law uplifts human personality, and an unjust law degrades it.
And he says, leaning on St. Augustine, that an unjust law is no law at all. He's basically saying it's your moral duty to break it.
But what's so powerful in the text, and what the source highlights, is that his real anger isn't even aimed at the KKK. It's aimed at the white moderate.
That is the sharpest insight in this entire analysis. King saw that the biggest obstacle to freedom wasn't the outright racist. It was the person who was, in his words, more devoted to order than to justice.
The person who wants a negative peace, which is just no tension, over a positive peace, which is the actual presence of justice.
It's that I agree with your goal, but I don't like your methods argument. And King said that whole attitude depends on the myth of time.
The idea that progress just sort of happens on its own if you wait long enough.
Right, but as the source puts it, in that context, wait almost always means never.
So you have to inject that constructive tension.
You have to. And that tension is what finally broke the deadlock and directly led to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The pressure campaign worked.
So when you zoom out, the victory didn't come from just asking nicely. It came from leveraging identity, economics, and optics to absolutely force the issue.
The source has a great metaphor for it. It calls the willingness to endure suffering a kind of moral jujitsu. Use your opponent's own force and aggression to bring them down.
That's a heavy concept. And it really makes you wonder, in our conflicts today, are we maybe too focused on just keeping things calm?
It suggests that if you actually want true, positive peace, maybe calm is the last thing you need. Maybe you need to deliberately and strategically design a crisis.
A very provocative thought to end on. Thanks for breaking all this down with us.